Hi folks, we're back. Part 3 of the Dogfish videos. So I've got a few things going here. I told you guys I would let you see how to actually fry it. I've got it cut up here into center cuts. I showed you how I filleted them in part 2 of this Dogfish series. And I'm going to go ahead and show you exactly how I fried them and made them taste delicious. Also, we have the eggs. I'm going to go ahead and cook these eggs. Those are the shark eggs that we found inside the shark. We're going to cook those. I went ahead and I made that shark fin soup. And this is what the broth looks like after I strained it. And it's got a really nice oil slick on the top from the natural oils from the shark. I'm going to cook the eggs in that shark fin soup before I actually go and eat it. And I'm going to finish it off with some scallions, some fresh scallions. And then I have the shark livers. We're going to go ahead and fry the livers up. They're really a strong livery taste. It's not for the faint of heart. If you're not a liver lover, this is something that you might not find enjoyable, although it's excellent to be served as an appetizer before you eat any kind of a delicacy. Like if you're going to eat the shark and the shark eggs, those are things that you would usually find as served beforehand, before eating the main course. So it's not something that you would eat as a meal like you could beef's liver, but it's just for an appetizer, and I'm going to show you how I cook those up also. So what we're going to do for preparation, for cooking wise, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to use an iron skillet, a fajita pan actually, and I'm going to get that really hot, and then I'm going to use a little bit of oil. I have my cooking oil going here for the actual dogfish fillets. So what we'll do first things first, when you're doing multiple dishes, you want to start with the one that's going to take the longest to cook. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and season the dogfish fillets. I'm going to get a plate and I'm going to lay these fillets on. Now I took some flour, salt and pepper, and I shook them in a bag. And what I'm going to do is, so that it's a way that you minimize your mess in your kitchen. You don't want flour all over the place. Everyone knows when you cook them in flour, it gets everywhere. I have some pink Himalayan salt that I ground up, and I put some black pepper in this nice little dish right here. So what you usually want to do is, even though you season your flour, you want to make sure that you season your fillets also lightly. You don't have to season them real heavily because you already have the seasoning in your flour. So we're not going to batter these. We're going to dredge them. We're going to dredge them in flour, lightly dredge. Difference between batter and dredging or breadcrumbing is the batter is a liquid coating and the dredging is a powdered coating. So here's the flour that I have salt and pepper in already, and I put it in a Ziploc bag so you can, place those in your bag. Get rid of that plate. And then we just seal the bag, and no mess, very easy, very simple. Shake them up in the bag, and they're ready to go. When you take them out of the flour, you tap off the flour so that it's just a nice light coating. And I'm going to show you what it looks like when you put them in the oil, when the oil is ready to be used for frying. So what I always like to do is I like to take a little bit of flour and I like to put it in the oil so I can see what kind of response the flour gets. That's about 10-15 seconds away from being ready, folks. So what we'll do first is I am going to get a spoon and I am going to put that aside so that when I get ready to pan sear the liver, I can use the oil from, so you don't have to use separate oil. So I'm going to go ahead and place these in. So this is what you want to look for when you're frying your fish. When you place that in there, nothing happens. So that's not ready yet. That's what you always do. You put a little corner in your oil, and if it doesn't start to bubble, that means that it's not quite ready. So it's about another minute or two away, I would say. So while we're waiting for that, I'm going to go ahead and put that fish back in the bag, and I'm going to go ahead and get our liver prepared. So I chilled the liver so that it would be a little bit easier for me to slice because liver, as you know, it's very soft and it's a very delicate organ, and it's very hard to slice for a lot of folks. Now these are different colors. You have a lighter color, you have a darker color, and a medium color. So I'm going to take the fatter one, and what I'm going to do, since it's chilled a little bit, it's not completely chilled, it's still loose at the end, but the bigger part is, and I'm going to cut it at a bias, guys. So I'm going to take one slice off right there, and I'm going to take another slice off. Now be very careful when you're doing this. Keep your eyes on your knife, okay? And then we're going to take a slice off of the darker one so that we can compare and see if the taste is any different. We'll cut that. We'll cut that, and we'll cut this right down. Take a nice slice right off of that. There's a beautiful slice there. And you can see the texture, how even after it's chilled, it's still very delicate. Because don't forget, this isn't a beef liver. This comes from a dogfish. So there's another slice. We'll put that to the side. So we have 4 slices of liver that we're going to do. So what we're going to do with that is I'm not even going to put any black pepper on that. What I'm going to do with that liver is I'm only going to salt it. So I have the Himalayan pink salt here. Fresh ground Himalayan pink salt is always really nice. And you always kind of use your fingers so you don't put too much. And this is so delicate that we're only going to season one slice. One side, excuse me. All right, so what we can do now, we can go ahead and test our oil again, see if our oil is ready. But what we can do first is we can take a little bit of oil out of our frying pan, and I can look at the oil now and see that it's ready. And we're going to put a little bit of that in our searing pan, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to sear both sides of the liver without dredging it or putting any coating on it, and we're going to just let it crisp right up. There's 2. There's a little medallion, and here's that first slice off of that dark one. So we're going to do those for right now and see just how those come out. And while we're waiting for those to sear, we can check our oil again with our fish fillet, and we can see if there's any change in the oil temp, and there is. So we're going to lay that down. That's what you want to see when you're frying fish. You let that first one start to bubble just a little bit, and then you come in with your second piece, because you don't want the temperature of the oil to cool down right away. That first piece of fish is cold, so you don't want it to cool the oil temperature down so it begins to boil. You want it to fry. We'll come in with the second piece now. We'll lay that in. Now that oil's getting good and hot. You can see the activity. After I lay this third one in, you can watch that sizzle. There's the third one. Now that's what you want your fryer to look like. And you don't have to have a deep fryer, folks. You can use a pot with the right amount of oil, as long as you bring it up to the right temperature. Not too hot. If it's too hot, it's going to burn before it even cooks. So you want to make sure that your oil temperature is just right. Don't be afraid to test it 2 or 3 times with the corner of the piece of fish like I showed you. And then once it's got that nice little active bubble, you know that she's frying and she's not boiling. So while we're doing this now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and flip this liver. Let's see how this looks. Since these are the 2 small, oh beautiful. These are the 2 smaller pieces. I'm just going to flip those over, and that's exactly what you want for the sear. Don't forget, the inside is going to be still a little mushy once it's even complete, so you want to sear it really well on both sides. And I might even flip it again just to get a solid sear on this, folks. You don't want the fire up too high. You want that sizzle on that liver to be just like that. Let's turn the heat up on the shark fin soup so that I can get ready to cook these eggs. Once that starts getting into a nice minimal boil, we're going to lay our eggs in there and so that they can cook. So we got a few things going here, but meanwhile, you guys can take a good look at that sizzle on that fryer. That's what you want to see, and it's really important that everything is timed properly. Otherwise, you're going to be getting undercooked fish with a crusty top that's not going to be very palatable. It's not going to be very good. And the same thing on the sear. You don't want it to burn, but you want it good and crispy. Like I was saying earlier, the preparation for that shark fin soup, I'm going to go ahead and just cut up a scallion so that we can use that as a garnish, because it's a really good, anytime you're doing any kind of a broth or any kind of a soup, you're always going to want to use your garnishes that'll also flavor your soups. And so scallions are an excellent garnish for shark fin soup, chicken broth, shrimp stock, crab stock, lobster stock. It really adds a nice little flavor to your different stocks, especially when it's a good rich stock with a little bit of an oil slick on the top. The scallion kind of really adds and complements the flavor of your stock. So I always like to garnish mine with a little bit of green onion. People call them green, and if you don't have any green onion, you have chives. That works just as well. But that's just a sprinkle on the top so that we can finish it off with something that's colorful and something that also tastes really good. All right, so how's our livers doing? They look like they're doing really well. That's a beautiful sear on that side. See, this is the kind of crunch that you want for this liver, because I've already tried it, and I undercooked it a little bit to see what it would taste like, and then I finished it really well to see what it tastes like. This is all the moisture coming out of the liver, and so you don't really want it burnt. This is a darker liver, so it looks darker, and this is the lighter liver, so it looks a lot browner than the darker one, but that's just what you want. You want it to be solidly cooked through. So I'm going to get a paper towel to sop up some of the oil, and I'm going to go ahead and take these out. And I'm going to cut into these guys once they cool, and I'm going to show you exactly what they look like. That's them off of the fire. And so that's really nice. It's not even really solid rock hard. It looks like it is, but it isn't. It's still a little tender on the inside. But we're going to show you exactly what those are like, and we're gonna try them. Now we're going to see what our fish looks like. You can come over here and see what this looks like. It's not quite golden brown yet. And another thing that you can definitely look for, you see when it starts to float on top of the oil. Once it starts to float, it's really close to being done. And those fillets aren't very thick, so those are going to come nice golden brown, nice and crunchy. We're going to lay our eggs in. See, the eggs are nice and soft. There's the shark fin soup. We're going to lay those eggs in and let them boil for about a minute. All right, folks, so we're going to give them a few minutes. We're going to give the fish a few minutes. I won't take them out until we get back to part 4. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you real soon, part 4.